Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we've got something pretty exciting to talk about that absolutely nobody on the internet has covered already. That's right, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts and opinions on these new Tyranid models that, I don't know, somehow they've flown right under the radar. Like, nobody's really even mentioned these at all. Like, it's crazy that I'm the first one to cover this. But all jokes aside, I'm not really going to touch on the Space Marine half too much. If I was to get this, I'd be way more interested in the Tyranids, and I think they're personally just a little bit more interesting and a little bit more my speed. Although the Space Marine side is very cool, and I do like them a lot. I don't really have a whole lot to add to that. I don't think that hasn't been said a million times already. So yeah, we're just going to be looking at these Tyranids. We're just going to go through the quick little run through of all the stuff that was shown, and you know, what I like, what I don't like, and what I think. Just real quick. If you guys like what you see and you want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe, all that bullshit. And if you want to support the channel, Patreon link is down below, where I share all my work in progress stuff and upcoming kit bashes and all that jam. Also, really quick, this is a new thing that I'm going to be doing for at least the foreseeable future. I'd just like to give a big shout out to my first official channel sponsor, which is Lord of Skulls. You guys may or may not have seen that fantastic video I made for him covering the 3D printed 8-bound helmets that he made. Well, he just continues to pump out more and more cool stuff, specifically for the World Eaters, but I'm told there might even be some other stuff coming down the road. So make sure to go check that guy out. I'm sure I'll have a little thing playing in the background as I'm saying that. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff coming from him. So without further ado, let's jump in and start talking about some Tyranids. Alright, so our first boy here is the new Winged Tyranid Prime. For anybody that has been following me for a long time knows I used to have a big Tyranid army. My Tyranid Prime was one of my favorite models. They fall right into that kind of class of model that's one of my favorite things to kit bash and to paint, which is like not too big, not too small. You can really like put a lot of love and detail into them, but it's not the same as having to do a huge, big, overwhelming project like a really big vehicle or whatever. And so I really loved just this normal Tyranid Prime. He's just kind of a beefier warrior with a little bit of extra bits. I gave mine a really fancy base. Now we have the winged version, and everybody suspects there's probably going to be some Tyranid Shrikes coming down the road. As far as a model, I like it a lot. I think it does look very cool. I am one of the people that is kind of on the fence about the wing position. I think they could have done that a little bit better as far as a pose. Personally, for me, what I think I would have liked, I get why they wanted him to be able to like walk on the wing knuckles, which is cool. But in doing that, it kind of makes the pose, like, because of how compact it is, and that's also good for a game point of view because he's easier to hide. It makes the whole model feel a little bit more like closed in, and you just like you can't see it as well. It's less of like an impressive looking figure than the big like outstretched wing pose. But I get why they did that. That's also a cool idea. I think personally, if I was designing it, I would have probably put them on the top. And if you didn't want to have them spread all the way out, you put them on the top and then you have them like set back a bit so they're not in the way of the combat arms. And then you could have them kind of like half folded across the back or like around the back. Similar to how, like, if you were into like any sort of like fantasy video games and stuff, if you ever have like one of the like dragon human hybrid type characters or creatures, generally when they're not fighting, like the wings are kind of across the back. Like tucked back, so then they can fight on foot. Something like that maybe would have made the model look a little bit better in my opinion, but I do think this looks very cool. I assume and I hope there's going to be like a multi-part kit coming, because it's very limiting to only have the siding claws. But so I do like it. I think it's a good model. I think it could have been a little bit better in my opinion. So moving on from that, we of course have the new Neurogons. Not a whole lot to say here. Maybe I was in the minority here, but I honestly, I thought the old Neurogons and the old Hormigons and the Rippers, I thought they were all fine. I didn't think they were really in desperate need of a new model. These new ones are certainly better, just the details are crisper, the proportions are just a little bit better. But like I was perfectly happy with all the little bugs beforehand. I owned something like, I don't know, 40 or 50 Termagants. They were super quick to put together, quick to paint, so these are definitely an upgrade, but I don't know that it was 100% necessary, but maybe I'm in the minority there. A lot of people seem to like them. That's totally fine, and I do like them. I was just perfectly fine with the old ones before. So moving on from that, now we have these nasty little bastards. So these are the new Neurogons, which some people thought they were going to be the new Hormagaunts. I actually am not going to even like quote myself when I went through the video, because I don't remember if I was in that group or not that thought these were going to be the new Hormagaunts. I definitely noticed them in the video and or the trailer, and definitely noticed they were different. I don't remember what I said that I thought they were. So these are not Hormagaunts, these are Neurogons. These are apparently like a bodyguard unit for a Synapse creature, so probably in this box set you'd want them guarding the one big guy we're going to get to in a moment. I think they look cool. I think that the paint job on them is kind of throwing me off a little bit. Like I think because they're just kind of so bright and so pale, it's kind of like obscuring some of the details. Because they're very small. They're smaller than Termagants, so there's not a lot to them. So they look kind of simple and kind of plain. They've got a weird little like psychic parasite thing on their back, which I don't really know what that does. They also have like a squad leader unit, which isn't usually like a Tyranid thing. So that's kind of interesting. It'd be interesting to see what that's like in game. But so I think they're cool. Like they're certainly not like a standout thing in this box, but I think they're cool. I don't really know what I would change if I was going to change anything about them. Like I said, I think it's kind of the paint job. They just kind of look kind of plain. And like the scheme even is a little bit different than the other stuff in the box, and that's probably intentional. But if I was painting them, I would definitely just paint them the same as the rest of the stuff. But yes, I think they're cool. Definitely not like a standout of the set. Now we have what was a big shock to me. So these are the Barb Gaunts, and these are what everybody, myself included, thought these were for sure going to be the new Biovore. They look like a Biovore in the trailer, the way they're like firing arcing shots over top of the troops as they're running in, very much like how a Biovore works. But apparently these are a different thing. I don't know if these are going to be like a troops or an elite or whatever, but they're basically like a bigger Gaunt with like a rocket launcher on their shoulder. And in the trailer we see them knock over a dreadnought with it, so we would assume these are like pretty anti-tank shots, although who can say, really. These are of everything in the kit, or everything in the box, these are probably the thing I'm the least sold on. I like their pose. Some people don't like the tripod thing where they've got the one arm balancing them. I'm fine with that. I think that's cool. I think the gun looks fine. Some people didn't really like the gun. I think the gun's fine. I think the body's fine. What I'm not totally into is their head and the actual arm itself. Like the arm being there is fine. I don't like that it's a hoof. I don't like it that it's a third hoof. There's something about that is odd. Like, even whether it's Tyranids that walk on all fours or on two legs, there's never been, to my knowledge, a front hoof. The front limbs are always, even if they're not used for fighting, even if they're just for walking, the front arms are always claws or talons. So it's weird that this one has like a third back leg. It just looks kind of strange. And if I got it, I would probably take a small claw or horn from something else and just make them like a really simple little like hook digit that goes on the front instead of the hoof. I don't like the hoof. And then their heads are just very plain. And I also don't like the heads where it's like the mouth is closed and the tongue is sticking out. It just kind of looks like derpy and silly. And then also that none of them are like looking where they're shooting. They're all like looking down. So it's like, then what's if you don't need to look at what you're shooting at, then what's the point of having the head at all? So yeah, if I got those, I would definitely modify them a little bit. I'd have the heads looking straight, and I would swap out the hoof on the third foot. So those ones are a little bit of a miss for me, but they're not bad. They're not bad. They're just not my favorite for sure. And now we have these sneaky boys. So these are the Von Ryans Reapers, or Von Ryans Leapers. Blah. So these are not a Lictor, they're not the Death Leaper, they are their own new thing. They come in a squad of 3 at least, probably go up to 6, I'd be willing to bet. And I think these are very cool. I was always a fan of the Lictor. I had 1 or 2 in my old Tyranid army. I really liked them. I thought they were really fun in game. I really liked the fun like stealth things they could do, where they're like infiltrating and sneaking around. They were hard to hit. So hopefully these have some of that flavor as well, although they are their own thing, so who knows what they do. In the trailer we see them going toe-to-toe with Space Marine elites pretty well, so I assume they can fight pretty good. But yeah, I think they're cool overall. Some people didn't like their mouth, their mandible things and their tentacles. They thought it was kind of too much. I think it's fine. I think it looks cool. It's very detailed. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't too fussed with it. I thought it looked fine. I think their claws look fine. I will say I am in the camp where I prefer my Tyranids to have taloned feet over the hooved feet. If they switched all of them to have talon feet, I'd be happy with that. I don't really get why they have hooves when they're more bug-like. I don't really see the benefit of hooves versus like a cool talon claw that you could claw somebody with. But I mean, either way, I think they look cool, and I definitely like them a lot. Now we have the big boy of the kit. I'm just gonna get this out of the way. This is the Screamer Killer. This harkens back to the original Screamer Killer. He is different now than the other Carnifexes. He's his own kit. They say that he's slightly bigger, although he doesn't look that much bigger. He does look like a Carnifex that's standing upright, like a whole bunch of people have made those before. He's maybe slightly bigger, but I think it's more the pose. I am like 9 out of 10 on this guy. I love it a lot. I love the pose. Some people don't like the arms. I like the arms better. Having them be like humongous scythes that take up like half of the arm's total length seems like impractical. It seems like they wouldn't be able to swing very well. Like it seemed like too much. And the old one, it almost looked like soft. Like it was like the arm was like the blade. It wasn't a blade. It was like rounded with like just like little spikes on it. It doesn't really look like it would be able to like hurt things very much. Whereas I like this one more. It's like instead of like a big slashing blade, which isn't bad. So if I had to pick, so if you got this guy's arms, the slashing blade arms of a normal Carnifex, and then you've got the original type of arm where it was just like a kind of rounded, not blade. It looked like it's like being hit by a butter knife. Like it doesn't look very sharp. I would actually put this one at the top of my list, which I think that's a hot take. I think some people don't like these arms at all. I'll tell you why. The length of these arms and the way the joints look, and that the end of the arm is just like a big spike. It's like a talon instead of like a full-on blade arm. That looks like he can get such a massive swing with that thing and then just puncture whatever he's hitting. So imagine him going up to a tank like a Chimera and just all 4 arms just boom, 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 boom. Like if he was to like whack a Chimera with the blade, I know in lore they're like, oh, the blade is so sharp it can just chop through a tank. It doesn't really look like it would do that. Whereas this looks like it would just be like punching giant holes and just ripping that tank apart, like punch all the way through it, hit a guy on the inside. Same thing, like in the trailer when we see him hit a Space Marine, he just punches right through the Space Marine, like just cores him with that talon. And to me that looks like, for what he's supposed to do, that looks like a better weapon to me. The blades I think are fine, but only if you're going into like biological things like guardsmen. Like you just want to scythe through 50 guardsmen, the blades I think look good. So I think it's a very different type of arm, but I'm here for it. I like it a lot. What I'm not 100% on is the head. I know that's not a unique opinion. For my Tyranids, I don't really like the humanoid looking heads. Like the Gene Stealer style heads, which this to me kind of looks like a giant Gene Stealery head, giant Broodlord-ish head. It doesn't look as cool or as like scary or monstrous. I prefer heads like the Hive Tyrant head, or better yet, the Trigon head. like big, armored. I want a big mouth with big teeth that looks like it can just bite people and eat people. This is like a small like human mouth. Like he's gonna just be like, like, and he's supposed to be vomiting out bioplasma. It's a tiny hole for bioplasma. Give him a mouth. Like, if I got this guy, I would chuck that head, gone in the bin, and I would put on either like a big crazy mouth or head, like a Trigon head, or a Tyranids head, or even the Carnifex kit comes with a bunch of heads, and one of the heads is meant to be for a Screamer Tiller, and its mouth is very wide open. It's got the like stringy bits of like flesh, like the mouth is like opened wider than it's supposed to, and it's got a big long, and there's one that's got like a big long tongue that's like dripping stuff. Use one of those heads, I would rather, or I would like heavily modify some head to be like the mouth is like opened way wider than it's supposed to, like it's unhinged its jaw and just out with the bioplasma. Maybe this is me being silly, but personally I don't like this head very much. I prefer a lot of the other style of Tyranid heads. So I really like this model. He just needs a new head, and that's super easy. All the Tyranid kits, the heads are super interchangeable, so that'd be easy to do. Now we've got the Scuttly Boy himself. This is the Psychophage. And I think this looks a lot different than people thought it looked, or at least that's a lot different than how I interpreted it. From the brief glimpse we got in the trailer, where we see two of them kind of feeding on some dead Marines, and then they go root, and they look up. I thought they were going to have more tentacles, longer tentacles, and I was picturing like no face, like no eyes, no face, just like a big feeder tentacle-y face. This is more like almost kind of like a Moloch-ish face, but with tentacles, but with the same like mega wide mouth. And it's doing that thing again that I don't like the way they do a lot of Tyranids, where they put like the butt way up in the air and then the head and everything way down low. But I make an exception for this model because of what it's doing. It's like scuttling along the ground, just nomming up all the bits and half-dead people in its way. I'm fine with that. I don't like that pose on the big gun beasts and stuff, like the Tyranids. It just seems weird. It's like you're just making a bigger target to be shot at for no reason, which if these are like the hyper-evolved perfect organisms, that seems like a poor choice to do. And also, like, the Tyranids drives me crazy because like this big massive cannon is like on the ground. So like all he can shoot at is like he can shoot the legs out from under infantry. But like, wouldn't it make more sense if he was able to like, you know, have some elevation and like shoot at things that were further away than directly in front of him? I don't know, personal preference. But so this guy, he's, for whatever reason, just like, I don't know, he's not my absolute favorite. Something about between the pose, just the model itself, like, I guess I prefer, like, my favorite models are like the Hive Tyrant, Swarm Lord, Dimacharion, and Carnifexes. For some reason, this guy, weird, like, tentacle, scuttly bug, it's just not personally my favorite. I would be happy, like, if I got this box, I would definitely paint it up, have it in my army, no worries. It's just not my favorite. But I think it's a very cool model. It's a well-made model. It's very unique. It's a different direction. And I see why a lot of people like it. It's just personally not my favorite model in the kit, if that makes sense. And last but not least, we have what, in my opinion, is clearly like the leader of this box set, which is the Neuro Tyrant. So I interpreted this as, so this is, we have a on-foot tanky tyrant, we have a flying tyrant, and both those tyrants can be melee or shooty. Now we have the psychic tyrant. So this is like the trifecta of tyrants, if you will. It's not, obviously not a hive tyrant, it's a little bit different, but this is like, to me, he's probably like on that level of like command ability and structure for the Tyranid army as a Hive Tyrant. This is just like a heavily psychic focused one. I'm sure he can still do some melee with those weird tentacle arms and claws and things, but he's going to be primarily your big bad psyker for the army. So initially, my kind of gut instinct was that I didn't like this very much, and that harkens back to the fact that I just don't like, I have not liked and I don't like psychers in 9th edition because of how they play. I find them like boring and uninteractive and not very fun. But when I think about it more, and I think about the way that 10th edition is apparently shaping up, and how like psychic attacks are actually like a shooting attack, so it's like they're actually fighting, or like, you know, maybe he can do cool things where he's near a unit and he powers them up to be better in melee, or put a psychic bubble around them or something. I think that I actually do like this guy a lot more, and I needed to get over my like anti-psyker bias, because it is actually a fantastic looking model. It is so detailed, it is so well made. I actually like everything about it. I like all the details about it. To me, it's just a lot cooler and more interesting looking than the other main Tyranid psychers, which are the Zoanthropes, which are just like so static and like boring looking, and they're just like this floating little blob. Don't get me wrong, like they look fine for what they are, but this is just like so much more next level. Why would you ever take those if this guy does anything similar? He's way cooler looking model. I like his little floaty friends. All the tentacles, is like slime sculpted onto the base. A lot of people don't like scenic bases. They don't like the tactical rocks. Fuck off. They're cool. They're a cool looking base. It's way cooler than a plain boring base. And if you don't like it, you just cut it off. I can't believe people don't like cool bases. Like, what do you want them to just put this cool model on a flat base? Like, that's boring. If you want to do it on a flat base, just cut it off. So I really like the base. I really like this model. If I had to think right now what my favorite thing from this entire box set is, the way, like, out of the box, no tampering with, which is very hard for me, no tampering with, I would say it's probably a toss-up between this and the Von Ryan's Leapers. And with a little bit of tampering, it would probably be the Screamer Killer. But overall, very good box. Very excited for Tyranid players and Space Marine players. The Space Marine side looks super awesome too. It's just less exciting for me. I say that, and I've been hemming and hawing about doing another Space Marine army someday, but that is not this day. It would be Tyranids before Space Marines if I was going to do one or the other. But anyways, that's just my thoughts and opinions, guys, on that new stuff. What did you think about this new launch box? Are you getting it? If you are, which half are you getting, and which things are you most excited for? What do you think looks the coolest? Or are you just excited about 10th edition in general, which is what I'm excited for? Because frankly, after I've played, I don't know, I'm going to guess, I'm a pretty good amount of 9th edition games, maybe like 50 games, maybe less, I don't know. It's just like, it's just not, that's what me and my friends were talking about the other day, it's just not as fun. It's just not as fun as it used to be, and I think it is because it's like, every day basically we play, we're just like, okay, so we're not playing with those rules, right? Okay, so we're not playing with these, like, it seemed like new things were happening every time we played, and we had to just like not play with things. It was like, it always felt like we were like leaving out part of the game, but then if we brought it in, like the game would be 8 hours long, so it's like, I don't know. Anyways, that's all for today, guys. Just a quick one, a relatively quick one for me, so my last one was fucking huge. Go check that out if you haven't, by the way. I put some effort into that one. I don't think it's going to get that many views, because it's a pretty different thing for me. But there will be a Kit-Bash showcase coming up pretty soon. And I'm just rambling again, as I always do at the end of these videos. I say goodbye, and then it's like 5 minutes later. So, goodbye, for real. Peace.